to Your Confidence podcast. We are here this week with Nettie Haines, founder of the Grit Method, and I am so excited for this conversation.
Thanks for being here, Nettie.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what in the world is the Grit Method.
Sure. So the Grit Method is a home organization business. We specialize in decluttering, organizing. We do a lot of moves. So we'll help people pack, unpack, get organized as we unpack them. And then we do some estate liquidation stuff. We don't sell anything, but we can help come in and, clear out a home and get everything to good places for like charities, donate. We try to avoid landfills at all costs. So everything goes to, basically we have a home for everything. We have a home for broken mirrors. So we have a home for, the VHS tapes that you cannot give to Goodwill anymore. That, the ones that you record TV shows on, we have a home for.
That's wild. I have so many questions. I mean, this is not your background. I think the most important thing is this is not where you started. So how in the world did you get to this place where you know a guy for every single one of those things?
Yeah. So I used to work in politics. Stephanie knows. Yes. So used to work in politics. I was a campaign manager for a member of Congress who had the largest district in the entire nation. So it was the size of the state of Pennsylvania. And you had, basically in order to win, you had to be incredibly organized. And we would do things where we would set up an office for a day, tear it down, move to the next small town, set up the office. We had to organize semi-trucks full of hot dog buns and for rallies and
other duties as assigned.
Yes. In areas of Arizona that didn't have cell phone coverage. Wow. It was wild, but so much fun. Some of my best memories. But in order to win, you really had to have organizational skills. So, and also I wanted to do this since I was 18. And I remember asking my college advisor and they were like, that job doesn't exist.
Wow.
I'm so mad at your advisor.
I know.
So what was the job? You said you wanted to be like a professional organizer?
Yeah. And they were kind of like, that's not a thing, but maybe you can do event planning. And, they kind of led me that way. And I ended up doing criminology, women's studies, and psychology instead. So, that was
okay. So
not at all what I'm doing now.
You do the politics. And then what brings you to Ohio?
Well, so I grew up in Delaware, Ohio.
Okay.
So I moved out to Arizona for grad school, finished grad school, ended up in politics, came back here after I had my second kid because we wanted to be closer to family. And then when I moved back here, I was like, I'm out of politics. It was just getting bad.
Yeah.
So, decided I was going to start my own business, started it in January of 2020, which was excellent timing.
Yeah.
So quickly, shut it down. And in that time, I was kind of helping out my mother-in-law and my grandmother-in-law with downsizing their homes. And during COVID, a lot of the charities were shut down. They weren't accepting donations. So that's when I kind of developed this network of people in random places that will accept things like broken mirrors and VHS tapes, and just kind of expanded from there. I knew during COVID, I wanted a team because I was lonely and trying to do it by myself. And I was like, I definitely need some people to help me out here. So kind of relaunched in the spring of 2021, grabbed some people, and it's just kind of spiraled from there.
Yeah. Do you think that when you were in college, if that counselor had put you in the direction of entrepreneurship, that you would have had the confidence to be able to do it? Or do you feel like you had to go through all of the things that you went through in order to build the confidence to then step into entrepreneurship?
I definitely think I would have needed to build the confidence for sure. Back then, I think the reason why I accepted it so quickly was because I didn't have that confidence and I didn't have that experience to be like, this is what I'm going to do anyway. I just kind of took her word for it and was like, oh yeah, you're right. And then my career in politics gave me that confidence to be able to go out and do it on my own. And,
The reason I ask is because I just see so many women who later in life start businesses. And I think it is because it takes them a while to get to a place where they build enough trust with themselves that they know they can handle it. And in the beginning, when they're like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I think their immediate inclination is like, oh, no way, I could never do that.
Totally.
And so I see so many women who are stepping into this phase of entrepreneurship post-motherhood. It really is like, it's like you have a baby and the next thing you know, you're like, oh no, this is what I'm supposed to do. And like, for some reason that like forges the energy of, I'm going to go after this thing because life is short. And now I have these little people watching.
Yep, absolutely. And a lot of it too was once I had kids, I was like, I can't work in politics right now because it's 24/7.
Yeah. And I have kids.
Especially in that district. It was traveling all the time. You would be somewhere without cell phone service. I was pregnant and I was like, I can't be on the Navajo Nation pregnant, 8 months pregnant, super far away from a hospital. So it was, once I moved back here, I was like, I am starting this, getting out of politics and doing my own thing and wanting my own schedule too, which was so ironic because it turns out I'm working,
way more.
And yes, a lot more. And my schedule is very dependent on like when product is available. And, you were talking about like the cameras not coming.
Yes.
Like between COVID and now it's like, oh, well, we can't finish the project because we're waiting for this flow wall to come in or, it's frustrating, but it is what it is.
It's funny too that you say you work more, and I would venture to say you probably work way harder for yourself than you would for other people. And I laugh because I think back to that time in my career where I was working for someone else and I feel terrible because I was not doing, I was not. What I can get done in a day, I would do in like a week and a half for someone. It's just so wild. But I think when you're passionate about the thing that you do, you have that fuel to go and like make it great. And when it's yours, like no one's going to love your baby like you love your baby.
Totally.
And it's the same thing for your business. For
totally.
Sure.
And it's fun. It's fun to me. So,
Okay. So let's pivot a little because I think our listeners are thinking, okay, well, how do I organize my life so that it can translate into confidence? So I have worked with you a couple of times.
Yeah.
And so I'm speaking from experience when I say that, I have to imagine your clients like feel something after they work with you. It's not just, oh, well, now I don't have to look at the clutter, but it's like an internal thing that is happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Right? How do you describe that?
So whether we realize it or not, our surroundings are they affect our mental health 100%.
150%.
Yes. So if you're working in an area, like if you work from home and you're working in an area that is cluttered and it's just driving you crazy, you're not going to be able to work very well. I've seen, the one thing about my job that I love is everyone is going through something. No matter who hires us, they're going through a divorce. They're going through they're busy. You were going through your campaign. Like that was a big deal. Like there's always something that they're transitioning jobs or they're moving. Like there's some big things going on in everyone's lives that just prevent them from, being fully able to dig into the cabinets and pull everything out and declutter. And even if their home is minimal and gorgeous and just, they know in the back of their mind, like, oh, my basement is a hot mess. Like I need help down there. It still affects you on a daily basis. So,
and it's got to feel after handling that situation, like a breath of fresh air, right?
It's like there is just, and it gives them confidence. And I always say too, like the decluttering or whatever it is that people need help with, it is contagious. So a lot of times we will, start in one room and then the client will come back another day and the clients are like, oh, I did it myself in the closet. So they will have the confidence after seeing or working with us to know oh, now I can do it in other areas of my home too.
Yeah. Do you think that confidence plays a role in people not contacting you? Because I was literally just before you came, I was like, oh my gosh, a professional organizer is going to be in my house. And then I didn't do anything. I went
oh my gosh, we are so judgment free too.
But the thing is you know that you're sitting there thinking she's going to come into my house and see my crap
Right.
and like literally think a thing about me. And it's that whole, I'm worried about what other people say about me, think
Sure.
about me kind of a thing. Do you think that keeps people from hiring you?
100%.
Oh my gosh. Like,
Yep.
what would you tell a person who in their heart knows they need help getting a handle on these things, but they're just like so worried about that?
I always say we are so judgment free. We have seen it all. We have dealt with it all. We have found it all. Like, we see everything. We don't judge at all. Also, my house is often a hot mess express too. Like, I have gotten to the point where I've had to hire my own organizer to come in on Mondays, and she helps me around my own house. Like, just because I don't have the time to do it myself, or I come home and I'm exhausted. We just did a huge move over the last 2 weeks, and my body is sore. I am so tired. I am going to bed at like 8 p.m. and like out like a light. I just don't have the time or energy to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no judgment, because if you would have seen my house yesterday, you couldn't walk through my playroom without stepping on a Lego. Like, it can often be a hot mess, but we also have the systems in place that it makes the cleanup a lot faster.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
no judgment whatsoever.
So what do you think is the reason that we all just have so much stuff? And why do we need to hire you in general? Like, why can't we just manage it on our own?
It's the consumerism.
Yeah.
100%.
Preach to it.
Right?
It is the ability to get something quick and fast, which is great on one hand and rough on the other. There, certain websites like Temu are not great because people will order a whole bunch of stuff and then realize like it falls apart quickly, or it's, it's
Junk.
just,
Yeah.
it's junk. And, or like, oh, they think it's this size and it's another size or whatever it is. I mean, we were in a house once that it was just like Temu package, Amazon package. Like, we couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. So it has a lot to do with the consumerism that's going on right now, the Instagram ads, you're like, oh, I need this, I need that. Like, I think that there's a lot of instant gratification the second that you buy something, and
It's a dopamine hit. It's coming. That fun thing is coming.
Yes.
Exactly.
And people don't even realize subconsciously that that's what's happening, right? And like you say this, I think, not to make them feel bad, but just maybe to open their eyes and saying, hey, you might actually be acquiring more than you need. And like, ask yourself before you hit the buy button.
Right.
Do I really need that thing?
Yeah.
And I was actually listening to somebody today that was talking about how give it a week and see if you remember the thing that you were going to buy. And if you do, like, okay, fine, but just give yourself a week to ask yourself the question, do I really even need or want or recall the thing that I was like literally one click away from getting?
Yep. What I do is I have a note on my phone, like a note app, and it's a to buy list, and I'll add it on there.
Oh, that's smart.
And then if I'm still thinking about it a couple weeks later, then I'll reconsider it. But, a lot of times I forget what's even on there.
Yeah.
I'm the queen of adding things to my cart and then not hitting. And so then when I get back in there, I'm like, and I like delete it. I'm like, girl, who were you that day when you thought you needed that dumb thing you don't need?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, and then what makes it tricky for people to get rid of stuff? So when you're in there and you're trying to help them, declutter, what are the hiccups
it is
there?
all sort of different reasons.
Yeah.
We're at a house today, and she wants to avoid landfills. So she does not want to get rid of things because she doesn't believe that if she just drops it off to Goodwill, that it's actually going to get to good.
But then your house is a landfill.
I was just sitting here thinking, so you suffer.
Right.
Because you don't want the world to suffer.
Right.
It's like, well, honey, someone's still.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason she hired us, is because we know.
Take it.
Yeah. Because that part's overwhelming too, is knowing what charities will actually use the things, doing all the research, and you have 17 boxes of things that you want to get rid of, and you have to do research for every single little item. Like, that becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also people who have keepsakes and it's sentimental. And those things, we never tell anyone to get rid of anything that's sentimental. We just are like, let's store it properly. Let's get it out of, like, let's say keepsake clothing. Let's get it out so it's not taking up prime real estate. Let's do something with it. Let's display it. Let's make it into a blanket. Let's do whatever with it. But, let's get it out.
I will say like, I am not afraid to get rid of things, but there have been times where I've looked at the volume of things I was getting rid of and I felt so guilty for getting rid of that volume of things. Even when you're taking it to a place where you feel better about it, like if you're donating or whatever, I still like, I'll never forget when I went through that process with Candace and we'd read in my closet and I saw all the clothes that she took out and like was donating. Don't get me wrong, but I just felt like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like, how in the world did you have this many things that you just didn't want or need anymore?
Right. Yep. There's a lot of guilt and shame involved with it too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, oh my gosh, that was so expensive. Let me keep that because it was expensive. Look at all that money. And we always say that money's already gone.
Yeah.
Like you're going to feel so much better having, room in your closet, having it be streamlined, having it be organized and customized for your routines and habits instead of it being overwhelming when you walk into your closet and there's 1,000 different things to wear. And you're like, where do I even start? What do I even do? And then also you get time back too. You get a ton of time back by having less things because you have less decisions to make and you have less just overwhelm in general. So
what advice would you give to someone who wants to start this process? Like maybe they're not in a place to hire a team to do it. They want to start this process of getting control back over the things that they have in their home.
Yep. I always say start small. You want to start with like something that is easy to gain that confidence to start. So like a utility closet is always a great place to start. Something where you know that you don't have that like sentimental
emotion in a utility closet. It's actually a really good piece of advice.
Yeah. And then once you do that, you're like, oh, let me go through these light bulbs. Oh, this light bulb doesn't even fit anywhere.
It's
like
the wrong color. Bye.
Yes, exactly. Like donate that. And then from there, then start going into harder things once you get that confidence and you can then tackle the things that are like really, really hard that, that box that was like your grandma's that, she passed away 5 years ago. Then you can tackle that last. Once you know the process and know,
You mentioned systems.
Yes.
For like maintenance and that sort of thing. Can you give us an example of what do you mean when you say system?
Okay. Sure. So a lot of times, since I talked about the playroom, let me talk about my playroom. So I just redid my playroom like probably a year ago. Previously, there were no systems in place. There were, a couple baskets here and there. My kids never knew how to clean up because they were like, we don't know where these things go. Like sometimes the stuffed animals are over here. Sometimes they're in this basket over here. Like what? So what I did is this was my plan, like 2019, just did it last year, but finally put in like built-in bookshelves and got baskets with labels, made sure that this drawer was for the art supplies. This drawer was for the Legos. The Legos are organized by color. The American Doll stuff has the dress up, has its own section. The shoes go below. The dress up goes up here. Everything's labeled. It's lovely. The kids now know, and their friends. That's the other bonus part is their friends know the system. They know where everything is. So if it gets messy, they can just go in and be like, oh yeah, the stuffies go in this mushroom basket. The American Girl doll stuff goes in the bottom closet. Like this is where everything goes. So those are the systems. And I always say like, especially with a playroom, things do get messy again because life does happen. It's always... life is a wild ride. So things do get messy again. But the cleanup, if you have the systems, the cleanup is so much faster than, the overwhelm of being like, I don't even know where to start. Like,
I have a question for a friend. What if you have a child that is two parts to this? A child that is very messy and also is very uncomfortable with the idea of getting rid of things or putting things away. It's like she wants to see all of her things.
Yes. You can still have systems, just make them clear. If she wants to see everything, you can do clear bins instead of baskets. You can do like, if she wants to be able to see them all and like,
I don't know what it is. It's like, I have a beautiful Pottery Barn toy chest.
Nobody wants that.
All the stuffed animals have to be out. Out on display for the world.
You have to kind of, and that's one of the nice things about it's kind of annoying, but working with a professional organizer is because we get to know your like habits, routines, your preferences, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And then we can come up with the systems that will fit for you.
Yeah.
So like, we have another good example, another playroom that we did, we suggested, they had so many stuffed animals, and we suggested getting bean bags for the stuffed animals. And the little girl was like,
Fill them up.
yeah. And she was like, nope, I want to be able to play with every single one of these 400 stuffed animals.
Stuffed animals, yes.
So from there, we just pivot and we did a bunch of like tall baskets that she could reach in at any point and grab the stuffed animals out. So it just kind of depends on,
Yeah.
like,
I find that I am so willing to declutter, clean up, put in place the systems, but then I've got little people who really push up against the system. And so how do you incorporate them into the process of creating a system?
For the decluttering part, what I find works a lot is saying like another little kid is going to be able to love this stuffed animal that has been under your bed for 4 years.
That you didn't even know was there.
Yeah.
Child.
Yeah.
Another tip that I did this last Christmas was, so my kids are 8 and 6. And so we're still like deep into like Santa and Elf on the Shelf. And the elf said to them, you have to get rid of one toy every day leading up to Christmas. And it could be a little tiny toy.
Like a grit method elf.
Yes.
That elf is gritty.
Right?
So we had a little basket in the playroom and they would just pop in one. And I will say, sometimes my son put in the teeniest, tiniest little Lego. But other times he was like, yeah, I don't even play with this like Hot Wheels car anymore. That goes in there.
Yeah.
So
Smart.
Yeah, I will say it's like a fine balance because I'm really the queen of the nighttime declutter. I will put it in a bag.
They don't see it.
That's the other thing too.
I'm not really interested in the opinion either, quite frankly.
And I used to do that, and then I would stick it in the basement or the garage, and then a week would go by, no one would mention it, and then we get rid of it.
Yep, it's in purgatory.
But I will say, as they've gotten older, I still do that, but I do try to incorporate them a little more because I'm like, these are your habits and your lifestyle, and like I want you to be able to do this for yourself when you're older as well, and not, there's not going to be like
a fairy that comes and throws your things away at night.
Yes.
Totally.
I wish there was a fairy that came and threw my things away.
Her name is Nettie.
There is a fairy. I love it.
And I always say too, like if there is toys that drive you as a mom or as a dad crazy and it's like affecting your mental health on a daily basis,
right?
Just get rid of it. They will get over it. If it's bothering you, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So like, just get rid of it.
Yes.
So will you explain to me the name behind Grit Method?
Sure. It came from when I was on the campaign. The congresswoman, when I was the campaign manager, the congresswoman would often like, if we're at an event, introduce me real quick and she'd say she has the grit to get things done. And from there, that's kind of where it came from. So, yeah.
I also love the double entendre of like you're sorting through the grit of people's lives too, which is really cute.
Exactly.
The marketer in me is very proud.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it was, because that's the other funny thing is so many people think that professional organizers are just out there making rich women's pantries pretty. Right. And that is not what we do at all. Like yesterday, I was up in a crawl space. My knees are like... just all jacked up because I'm like crawling. There's cobwebs in my hair. Like it is not a pretty scene most of the time. Like we are not, yes, we do the pretty things. We do all that, but we are also like in it. Like we are in some dirt. Like I come home every day and my kids are like, ew. Like,
dirty mom.
Go shower before you talk to me.
Dirty.
So yeah.
No, I love that. And your team is women, mostly moms, right? And so, and you guys are very relatable.
Totally.
And you're affordable. I mean, I think that's probably a common misconception. Like, you're paying for a service, but it's not out of the realm for a lot of people.
Totally. Yeah. We're all women. We come from different walks of life. There's young people, there's retirees, we're nurses, divorcees, like all sorts of different people. It's really fun. We have a great team. They're all like genuinely good human beings too. So
I'm always interested whenever I meet another mom who owns a business to hear her perspective on how she manages the load of having a business and having kids and how that plays with her confidence a little bit. So will you just tell us a little bit about like some of the things you had to sort of like war with in order to be able to have both of these things?
Sure. My dad used to always say, you can have it all, but just not all at once, which I have always loved repeating like throughout my life. But basically my kids, like what I do is I don't work on weekends. I try not to work from the time I get home until I go to bed, until my kids go to bed. And then I get back on my computer and then I work, do whatever I need to do. But I just really try. It's a lot easier now that they're in actual school. So I try to be there when we're both at home. I always make it a priority to like be at their soccer meets, gymnastics sometimes, depending on the day. And then, they're just very, the nice thing too is like our best friends are also our kids' best friends right now, which is lovely. So like the social aspect that we're all doing it together. We'll go to Noctera, we'll hang out with the parents, they'll hang out with their best friends. It's been great. But then I really try to just focus on work at work and kids at home, and then create those boundaries with, I mean, I know that you love boundaries, create boundaries within the times that they're awake. They go to bed super early though. So that's kind of nice.
That always helps.
Do you feel like it took you a while to figure out how to do that, or like to give yourself permission to do that?
Absolutely. Because at first, especially when it was just me on the team, I was like saying yes to everything. I was working on the weekends. I was doing all the things by myself. Things were taking so much longer than I was expecting them to take. So I had to kind of figure that out. And from there, that was when I was like, okay, I need a team. I need help. I need other people to be able to do this, and to be able to like expand and help the people that I wanted to actually help. In the end is I needed more people. And from there, I was able to create more boundaries and figure it out.
I will say one of the things that I love about watching you work and watching your team grow is that you give them confidence by placing that trust in them. You don't have to be on every job.
Totally.
And I just think that is just your energy is just translated into them. You're obviously very selective with who you pick, and then you train them well, but then you let them fly.
Yes.
And that's such a critical part of leadership that sometimes entrepreneurs have a hard time with.
Yes, it's hard to delegate.
But you do it really well. So do you have any thoughts on why you have such a solid team and why you let them fly with such ease?
I think, again, a lot of it came from the campaign. In order to win, we would have to delegate. I had to we had, like I said, it was a district the size of Pennsylvania. And we had different zones, and you would have to delegate to each different zone, or else you weren't going to win. By the election day, I mean, when it was every 2 years. So at the beginning, it was like me and a handful of people. By the election day, we'd have hundreds of staff on the team. So, I can't manage 300 people by myself. Like, that's insane. So you have to delegate by department, delegate by zone. And I just kind of took that same mentality and same, like, I guess, confidence in trusting myself to hire good people that I can delegate to. And also delegating, hire to your weaknesses, right? I don't love doing kitchens, so I hire people who really does. That love a kitchen. I don't cook that often, so some of the times I don't know what these gadgets are.
Where this bad boy goes.
I know. Like, what is this thing?
I would love to be a consultant on your team for that, because I could literally just be in the corner of the kitchen like, no, that's not a good spot for that thing.
Yes.
No, we cannot go there. I cannot. I get like rage too if someone puts a kitchen utensil in the wrong drawer. I'm like, thank you for your help with emptying the dishwasher, but please don't touch things if you can't figure out where they
Totally. Yeah.
Thank you
I feel
for
that.
Sharing. I think that's
absolutely.
so valuable. I feel like I've learned a lot.
I know. So tell the people where they can find you.
Sure. We are on Instagram at The Grit Method. Our website is thegritmethod.co. not .com.
Mm-hmm.
.com wants $25,000, which I can't afford right now. So.
Does anybody know a guy?
Yeah. And then our email address is hello@thegritmethod.co. But yeah, it's all of our information is on there. I have pricing, everything up there. So that way, you get all the info.
Yay.
Thank
I
you so
love
much
it.
for being here, sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.